Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel where we review anything and everything. And today we are just getting into kind of just a discussion in regards to the evolution of the Hammond collection with these four theropods. These are the four and only largest meat eaters of the Hammond collection. Obviously, anybody watching this video would know that because you guys are going to know as far as, what's going on with Hammond collection and whatnot. But this video is really just to kind of detail the evolution, because I think that with the release of the Indominus Rex, excuse me, I'm having a brain fart, the Indominus Rex, that it was the first time where we kind of took a step back. So I had to kind of check to see when the difference between the Spinosaurus and the Giganotosaurus as far as when they came out. And because I got confused because I felt like they kind of blurred in my mind because they were pretty close. But from my understanding that the Giganotosaurus came out after the Spinosaurus. And so, okay, so I just kind of Googled that just to make sure. And it's funny because before when I Googled it, it gave me a different answer. And now it gave me a different one. So I was correct in my initial thought of thinking that the Spinosaurus came out second. Spinosaurus came out after the Giganotosaurus. So you have the T-Rex that came out first, which obviously set the standard. But I'll be honest with you, there were flaws with the T-Rex straight out of the gate. And I don't mean issues with, say, the glass eye that had to be corrected. And this is the second version where the glass eyes were corrected. And don't mind, I'm not going to do a bunch of zooming in because these things are so big. So I'm just going to really kind of talk, and I'm not going to really focus too much directly in on them, except in certain situations that might call for it. But so I'm not even getting into that with the whole eye situation with the T-Rex, but certain things that were obvious that were flaws, I would say, is the teeth. They did this overly painted job on them. And for most part, a lot of the Hammond collections, even as I look at them now, have an extra level of paint over the teeth. Maybe not the Spinosaurus, but it looks like maybe minor, but his teeth are so much smaller. But as far as the T-Rex, not only is his teeth a very deeper yellow color rather than just that natural bone color that doesn't have paint on them that they were already doing with the T-Rexes from the main line. But in addition to that, they're not as sharp. So, and what made that an obvious flaw is because previous T-Rex had better teeth before this. So at that point, there's no excuse. I get it where there's certain things that maybe they implement that this was the first time them doing it. Then you give a pass on certain things like, okay, that's the first generation of the T-Rex, of the Hammond collection, large theropod, so you understand that. But also another flaw that it had straight out the gate was the clown feet, because previous T-Rex actually had smaller feet, more closer in line to these newer, smaller feet. Not as small, but they were smaller than this. And I get that they did it for the purpose of support, but they really didn't need to go that route. So they get somewhat of a pass in the sense that it was really an experimental type of thing. And then later on when they figured it out, there's hey, we don't need it to be that way. Another thing that I think was a big flaw was, I know they did it for the articulation, but that barrel stomach, I hate it. It doesn't give great shaping like you see these, a nice shape. This just gives this barrel for the purpose of articulation, which you really didn't need articulation in that spot. And aside from that, everything else about it actually was pretty decent, and the paint job was actually very good. I wasn't a fan of the knee joints, but I wouldn't call that necessarily an obvious flaw to start with, because like I said, it's one of those things that they were experimenting with and they weren't really sure. The real obvious flaws is the teeth and the feet. But going forward, then we had the Giganotosaurus actually came out in 2024, just because I just Googled this. I don't know the time that each one came out. As far as the T-Rex, really, all the rest of them I do. But the Giganotosaurus, really, at that point, you had the Carnotaurus, and you had a few others that really, you saw the improvement. So when they got to the Giganotosaurus, they really knocked it out of the park. All the improvements are there with pretty much zero flaws. The teeth got, the feet got smaller. The teeth too are proportionate to Giga's teeth, how they're supposed to be, as opposed to Rexy's. They're supposed to be smaller, and they reflect that in the way that the teeth are. So that in itself is good. And, the paint job and everything is good. Everything is good on it. It still has the parted tail where there's two segments in it versus just one, which they'll have later on. You could see it's got the two segments right there. But which is not necessarily a bad thing. I do kind of like the whole streamlined single tail piece like you have on the Spinosaurus when it started. But nonetheless, after that, the Giganotosaurus, they introduced the Spinosaurus, who actually has the smallest feet, and he still manages to stand very well. Very nice. And one thing I like about the Spinosaurus is, though the paint job may not be specifically exactly how it was in Jurassic Park 3, it, in your imagination, in your mind, it fills what your memory remembers if you're not looking directly at the movie. It has all the general colors that bring it to life, and they pop and they're so vibrant, and it works, and it goes all the way across the full extent of the tail. It really works. And the reason why I'm emphasizing that so much is because, and the glass eye on this looks so nice with the green back for his eye, just looks so good. That looks so good right there. And so this is just showing that, like I said, they continue to increase and improve, he came out in 2025. They increased and improved. The teeth, once again, are nicely done. They have the curves just like for the Spinosaurus is supposed to have. They're smaller than, once again, the T-Rex. The tongue is also really good too, because it's bendable. And even though Giganotosaurus's tongue is bendable too, it's a little thicker, but you can see that difference. I'm pointing this out for the purpose of, like I said, the evolution. The T-Rex's tongue was actually really nice too, but it actually gained more detail when they did the Giganotosaurus's and the Spinosauruses, in terms of the slit in between is a little more pronounced. The line that goes in between is a little more pronounced. Let me just zoom in on these so you can kind of see them. This one you see is a little bit more pronounced. The Spinos is even more pronounced. And the T-Rex's is less pronounced, but nonetheless, that was the first tongue. So it's still a good job, but it has less detail, but it's still, for the first one, it's good. And you see the other ones just improved on it even more, which, you can't knock it for that at all. Very good job. And what else? Obviously, quality control back then was really good. And I'm saying all these things to point out where we're going to lead to with the Indominus, because the Indominus is the first time we see of these line. It was going from really good when it started, but, it had some things it had to improve on, to it got even better with the Giganotosaurus. Then it got even better with the Spinosaurus. And then with the Indominus, you start seeing that things started to come downwards in scale. So, like I said, the vibrancy and all of that, just really nice. Even if the colors weren't the most accurate, they still brought it to life. Then we have the Indominus now for 2026, and it really, in relation to this upward climb that they had going on, they really dropped the ball. I do want to point out, though, that those single base tails that are bendable all the way through do actually hold up better than like how I told you, how the T-Rex is and how the Giganotosaurus is, with those two parts, because that second part that's halfway through the tail tends to always make the tail droop. And that's what's going on with my Giganotosaurus right now. So that's something that I realized. But nonetheless, for all the improvements, we come with the Indominus, and you got a couple of flaws. And I said this in my review video of it. The head alone has a lot of problems. And when we jump into that, first off, the teeth. They're not necessarily bad looking, but they might be a little over the top, a little too big, a little too long. I compared it to the camouflage version mainline, and that one had better teeth. They weren't as long, but they also fit into each other better. So when the mouth is closed, you saw that the mouth won't fully close. Quality control on the jaw muscles there are really bad on mine, and I'm sure other people. I've heard other people just saying quality control being bad, and I'm not sure how many of them had issues in that specific area, but definitely quality control is bad on mine when it comes to that. I'm not a fan of the overly painted teeth. It does make it look like he's just finished eating something with blood in his mouth because they're very stained, but I would have rather just a neutral color, even though all the Hammond Collection ones seem to have some kind of paint going on, though the Spinosaurus has the least amount of paint. But here's another major flaw. This tongue. So these tongues here, you see how they bend? They bend. The rest of them, all of them bend. They're a very rubbery type of tongue that bends, which is cool. It gives it more lifelike. Even the T-Rex's was bendable. It's a little more stiff than Spinos, but Spinos is small. Let's see. Giganotosaurus is a little bit easier to bend than flexible than the T-Rex's, but nonetheless within the same realm. Indominus is just hard, like a hard plastic. It doesn't even really bend. It doesn't really bend. Now, I'm not saying you can't bend it. It's not like tap it and you get that type of sound. It's not that type of hard, but it's still very hard that when I'm trying to bend it right now, it won't even bend and the whole mouth is moving and this and that. Why would you do that? That's going such in reverse from a realistic feel to a realistic aspect of it. So that in itself is, I don't even know why they did it. It's really bad. I could say also too, I don't know if the Indominus's mouth is supposed to be this wide, the lower jaw, but his mouth, I know he used to always be able to open up his mouth really wide to be open, but I don't know if it's supposed to be this wide across. I don't know, but it's just, you're seeing the level, the quality is just, it's definitely different. The jaw doesn't feel right because, like I said, it's not lining up correctly either. And obviously the muscle tissues, like I said before, the jaw muscles or quality control in them is horrible. The face and the detail looks really nice. That part looks really nice. It's definitely improved from the time of the T-Rex in terms of the fine detail has gotten better, equal to some of the Giganotosaurus and the Spinosaurus. But where we run into a big problem here is, even though the eye doesn't look bad, you should have had a glass eye. The quality control is fading in that regards. Another quality control, I'm sorry, just the quality in general is fading. The what's the word I'm looking for? The premiumness is fading. And I think that the line itself is getting to a point where, now that that's happening, it really just takes away from the line in general. In my opinion, and also to the paint job, as I said on the review of this, the paint job has gotten, it's a fine paint job. It's just the colors are not accurate, and they don't have to be specifically accurate, similar to the Spinosaurus, may not be exactly how it is inside the movie, but it conveys to your memory the way you remember it. Like it plays with your memory cord to go, that's how I remember it, or that's how my mind makes it okay to see that. The big color feature for Indominus was that he was white or white looking, even if he was a dirty white, almost like a light grayish. This is a dark gray. It really doesn't fit. It doesn't, let me bring it a little more into angle so you can see it better, because the light shining on it kind of makes it look almost like brighter than what it is. It's really very dark, and especially on the top, but it really just doesn't give that vibe like it should. And they started with a light paint right here, white. You probably can't see it on the camera that well from this angle. In my review, you can see it better, but because it's kind of reflecting off the light. But if they would have put that white going everywhere on it, I think it would have definitely gave it more of that appeal. But what do you guys think in terms of the Hammond Collection? I think that it was on the evolution of the Hammond Collection plus the main line, which would inherit some of the Hammond Collection features, was like a rocket ship to the moon. It was going so fast, furious. It was just so many new features getting passed down, boom, 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 to the lower line, to the main line, to all this stuff, and just evolving quickly. And it was amazing. And all of a sudden now you hit this roadblock where they just kind of said, let's get things wrong. Let's be a little cheap with things. Let's be cheap with the quality control, cheap with the glass eye. We didn't even want to allow the mouth to close. And I can see if they never did that before. But on the previous one, the camouflage one, his mouth closed and the teeth still interlocked, even though he has very over-exaggerated teeth that look all over the place. They still locked and intertwined. This one didn't have that. So it's like, you really kind of feel like they didn't have to drop the ball, and they did. And the examples of where the line was going tells you they could have done it. They just didn't. So what are your guys' thoughts on that? I would love to know, because like I said, for me, it really has taken a hit, and I'm hoping that that doesn't show in their future Hammond collection dinosaurs, because not only will that be a problem for the Hammond collection, but it's a problem for the main line, because the main line gets the trickle down of the good things that they put in the Hammond collection. Now, I never expected the main line to ever get glass eyes, because I'm sure that's more of a premium thing, but they did start putting the soft rubber teeth on every dinosaur now. They don't even do it now without, even small dinosaurs that you think it's not going to be able to do it, they do it. And that to me is a big deal, to where it's kind of like, okay, so if you can do that with all the main lines, that's always a good thing. But when you start skimping out on what you're giving to the Hammond collection, best believe those skimps and those little, cutting corners are definitely going to go to the main line. And the main line, when it first came out, it was good for the time, but there's a lot of little things about it that when you look back at it now, you're like, yeah, that wasn't cool. The oversized feet, the painted teeth that would scrape off very easy, the proportions, the short tails, all these things were fixed. And now there's a lot of figures in the base line that look so good. They borderline look like Hammond collection, just without the articulation. So what are your thoughts below, you guys? Sound off down in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are with the line. Where do you think it's going to go with the future lines in terms of the quality? Do you think it's going to drop, or do you think they're going to learn from the feedback of the Indominus that they can't drop the ball anymore and they're going to have to step things up? As always, you guys, like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.